Unfamiliar conference foes facing Miami back-to-back. They dispose of the Cardinal of Stanford, of course, with a big second half. An old friend, Rhett Lashley, and SMU straight ahead, and a trip to Dallas. Welcome into the Voice of College Football, our Miami show with Cam Utterwood from the State of the U, as we do it here each and every Wednesday. It's 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and so you know where you should be. And if you're listening to me live, you are where you should be. So good to see you. Good to hear from all of you as you leave your comments and questions there in the chat. The Canes get it done over the Cardinal 42-7. We will briefly scan that and, of course, look ahead to the date against SMU. Plus, for the first time in quite a while, Cam, we've got some recruiting news.
Yes, indeed. Hello and welcome to everyone. But yeah, I figured we would start with ye olde recruiting news and whatnot because, we have 2 commits in the last 2 days. Before we get to that, Falconer throwing it up. And the rivalry continues. He asked Leroy where he was at because, he got planted the flag first. And Leroy does respond and said, hey, yeah, hey, and we're off to look. I was waiting for Keyshawn Stansel. This is on me. I knew he was committing at 7. I didn't want to go live and then have to keep going back and forth. So that's on me. But yeah, and then Leroy is back, say, yeah, he got beaten everything to the first comment, but we can get rid of that. But yeah, on the magical world of recruiting, we start with Keyshawn Stansel, the latest player who just committed 2 minutes ago. Well, at this point, 4 minutes ago. 6'3", 270, defensive tackle, nice 3 techniques of playing inside, just like David Blay and Ahmad Moten Sr. and, many others making their impact felt on the inside of the defensive line. He's from North Carolina. This is a guy who Miami had recruited previously. Lost out on his commitment to Clemson University, but continued to recruit him all along the way. And that continued connection, relationship building, and everything paid off in the flip from Clemson to Miami today. This is yet another win for Miami in recent memory over Clemson. If you remember, Ray Joseph was once committed to Clemson and flipped to Miami. I know his career has not gone here the way that you wanted it to. However, having him on our roster and not on their roster is a win, even if he's not doing anything in Miami. So, and that's a heads up. That was 3 years ago, too, when they were nearer to the peak of their powers, which is further and further in the rear view. So you beat them head up for him. Several offensive linemen, although we did lose a legacy one to them, but he made a bad choice. Also, Blake Stewart, a 4-star safety from Atlanta, just decommitted from Clemson. Miami has been chasing him heavily and is in a good position. Not saying that that's going to happen, but we are trending in that direction and we'll continue to push to try to get Blake Stewart and have completed the flip with Keyshawn Stansel. So, these things are going in a great direction. He's a blue chip player, as you see on the composite, top 175 player in the country, number 10 in the state of North Carolina, number 3 defensive lineman in 23, in the class per the composite, which is the ranking that I always look at, regardless of if it's higher or lower, just to reiterate, because I know it's been months since we've really talked recruiting. So that's another big get for Miami along in this class. I would have to go back and look. I'm actually just starting all of the the recruiting notebooks for signing day, because signing day is only about 6 weeks away and everything. So yeah, you gotta look at those. Along the defensive line, Ashari Charles from Venice, Jordan Campbell, linebacker who was at Carroll City and is now at Northwestern, might play edge. So he's another guy along there, but interior, you would join him with Anthony Kennedy Jr. from Little Rock, Arkansas, who's, 6'4", 334. So a little bit of the bigger kind of the nose on the interior line there. But another good get, a blue chip player. And then you also have Tyson Bacon from Hoover, Alabama, and Frederick Santius from Naples as well, along the interior of the defensive line. So you're up to 4 defensive tackle commits in this class. That's where you want to be. And adding another blue chipper of this caliber and again, taking him away from Clemson. It's like, I don't want to call it a double win because like it's exponential, really. But getting him and taking him away from that team is really, really big. So great get along the defensive line. Damian Lewis, the defensive tackles coach, doing a great job in recruiting along with everybody else. And we continue to move forward.
And of course, taking him away out of their territory, their region, their part of the country.
Yeah, when their backyard and got it, which is like the thing that makes all of the wide receivers who have gone elsewhere from South Florida like hurt more exponentially because like these other teams came into our backyard, like, and we did the exact same thing to get Stansel away from Clemson. And like North Carolina was a finalist and everything else, also as well. But like, yeah, big get.
24 hard commits for a class that is ranked right now with, as Cam mentioned, 6 weeks left until National Signing Day, number 12, according to 247 Sports. Whether you've done the calculations, Cam, or lean on somebody else who has done some projections, is there a number out there where we believe that this class is going to land with 24 current hard commits?
Well, 25, including Keyshawn Stansel, because that was before that. It's updated now, the list. But yeah, so 25, including him. It really comes down to how these flip pursuits turn out over the next several weeks with all the guys that we are chasing. That really sets the ceiling. So I don't know that we're going to look at too many guys to add to this group. But I mean, if we're chasing after big names, then you would take them. So it's in a state of flux, really. To the point of the question, to like double down on what you, or to support what you just asked, Nick Adams says, what's the likelihood of Lamar Brown with LSU's firing? Remember, this is a top 10 player from Southern Lab on the University of Southern University in Baton Rouge, not Louisiana State, but same city, both. Top 5 player in the country, plays both ways, plays right tackle on offense, plays defensive tackle on defense, and is like bull in the china shop. Like, he's unblockable. It's crazy. What are the chances now that Miami or anybody else can get him up off of his LSU commitment? It would take a hero's job to make that happen, because the strong ties and connection of Louisiana natives to LSU, now that they finally integrated and allow Black people to play there, which is why Southern was good before, which is why Grambling had, Eddie Robinson win, record number of games. They didn't take Black people, so all the Black people went there, or Jackson State or Mississippi Valley State or wherever. But the tie to that state, into that school, into that program, are so strong that they transcend a jerk of a coach, right? So it's tough to go in there and get top talents out of Louisiana. You can get some, we got a Dylan Day who was a high 3-star, probably should have been a 4-star out of Louisiana, but you didn't get even the Landon Ibieta kid who was a 4-star wide receiver. So LSU didn't want me, I'm going to go to Miami. And then LSU turned around this time, late October, November of his senior year, and said, Landon, we would like you to stay home and not go to a state other than Louisiana for college. Well, guys, I mean, it's LSU, was basically the explanation when he did that. So I say all of that to say it's going to be very, very, very tough. Absent, honestly, a financial commitment that makes you eschew your emotions to get Lamar Brown. Like, it's going to take something along those lines. And like, yeah, they were committed there in spite of Brian Kelly, not because of, and I know he put up the thing saying, hey, he changed my life, and he was supportive because Southern is right across town from Louisiana State. And so LSU was the first team to offer Lamar Brown. The hometown team as like a high school freshman, cool, I get it. It wasn't because of him that the player was committed. You know what I mean? So it's not in a situation where like You might have some players who are committed to Miami because of the strength of Mario Cristobal's personality, apart from the university. You know what I mean? There's very few Duke Johnsons out there who are like, I'm going to Miami, hell or high water, say what you say, do what you do, I'm going to Miami. You have the NIL, you have the recruiting acumen and personality and the draw of the coach, right? LSU, they go to LSU because it's LSU and they wear purple and gold. You know what I mean? So I think it's still maybe a pipe dream for Miami or anyone to get Lamar Brown up off of his LSU commitment. I'm sorry to say.
That said, with the financial enticement, LSU could hire somebody who, to the rest of us, could be a great coach and a formidable head coach, but to that particular player that we're speaking of may not be the guy that he wants or likes or anything. So there could be some negative impact there. It's unlikely.
Yeah,
it's unlikely.
It is, in my estimation, from having, followed this and like, especially like that was like recruiting was what I started blogging like more than 20 years ago, guys. Like this is where I like got my, actually way more now. Like this is really what I've been following for a good long time. I don't see it as reasonable or not. Sorry, I don't want to say unreasonable. I don't see it as likely that Lamar Brown flips up off of his commitment. I would love it, Lamar, if you proved me wrong and ended up in Coral Gables. I openly invite you to have it be one of the few times it's like, you know what, Cam don't know what he's talking about. I'm going to Coral Gables, like, hey, let's get it Hurricanes. Prove me wrong, boss. Go ahead. I'm going to pause for 2 seconds because my AC is not working. I got to go figure out why.
So as we let all of you, again, comment and leave those questions there in the chat. Keep in mind that the Amazon link's in the description section of this video and all the videos. And for me, that's the most important thing I'm going to say the entire show, that the Amazon link's in the description section of the video and all the videos at the Voice of College Football, not just on the Miami channel. And therefore, grab the Amazon link because it is the same shopping experience instantaneously.
Yes. And what Mark said, go click the Amazon link. Do that.
And well confirmed there. Thank you. Now, I've got to say that this next player coming from my stomping grounds there in beautiful Stowe, Ohio, where I graduated from high school, not at Walsh Jesuit, but for Miami, with all the speed in the area there in South Florida, to be coming to Northeast Ohio to grab a wide receiver seems unlikely, but that's what they just did in Milan, Paris.
Yeah, man. Look, you got to go where the players are. And this is a guy who has really skyrocketed in his performance and his outlook through the course of his senior year. As you put up his player card there, you're going to see he's big and fast. So 6'5.5", 205, almost 6'6". So he's a big, tall wide receiver. This is a guy who, is top 225 on the composite. 247 is higher on him than the industry at 160 and probably even trending up higher than that. This is a good get. This is a kid who early was committed to Iowa State. So basically a taller version of Jaden Higgins, who played there the last few years and then went to the league. So he locked down his spot at a nice mid-major-ish kind of team and then is hooping. And it was just like, I have these other big teams who are sniffing around now, and I just think that I'm going to look at them instead. So he decommitted from Iowa State, and in the last month has taken official visits to, in this order, Oklahoma, Oregon, and Miami. With Auburn, a power program who, beyond belief, has done a great job at recruiting wide receivers recently. He has one scheduled for them. Well, at least at present, it's on the books for Thanksgiving weekend to Auburn. I don't know that he will end up taking that one or not. But yeah, you're committed to Iowa State, and then you go and do what you're doing as a senior. And really elevate your personal status. Where is, I don't know if I'm going to find it right this quickly because I'm unprepared. I'm so very sorry. But I believe he's averaging like 20 something yards a catch as a senior.
I'm looking at, oh boy, that is well behind. Yeah. So the numbers that I'm looking at from Max Preps is 1 game played. So we caught 3 passes and then they shut it down after that. So that's all I got.
Give me a sec. I'm going to go try to find it. Because I saw somebody tweeted it out. His current statistics. I know this is bad podcasting. I'm so very sorry. Let me scroll on this timeline just another couple of seconds. I hope that my computer works with me. There we go. From Gio Milian, Paris has produced 38 catches for 1,046 yards and 12 touchdowns in 8 games as a senior. That's 27.5 yards a catch. You know, like I don't know what else to tell you. Like, I mean, yeah, almost 30 a catch and 12 tuds in 8 games. That'll work for me. And he has the size that we're looking for and long speed too. Like, yeah, he is obviously, if he's 6'6", he's a long strider, and it takes maybe a few steps to get to top speed, but he runs by guys routinely in the games that are on his film. And this is a guy, a hands catcher. He has a variety of routes in the route tree. Obviously, you're going to look at the things that are going to be kind of more vertical. So your flag, post, go. He has a couple deep digs in there. In his highlight film, as I'm recalling, there are a couple of tunnel screens in there, kind of like maybe a 5 or 8 yard dig, like, which is, up and across route. More athletic than you would think. Like, he moves like a guy who's 6'1" or 6'2". Like, you would think, okay, a guy who's 6'6", he would struggle to get in and out of his breaks and then to be nimble going across the field. There's one in this highlight I'm thinking of now. He's on the left sideline as the number 1, the X receiver, goes up, and then he comes across the entire formation. And he goes through basically the teeth of the defense. So you're behind the line, the defensive line, which is tracking back, in front of the linebackers in secondary, and they're tracking forward, and you're able to navigate his way, or he's able to navigate his way through. This is a good get. And yeah, Miami has a nice wide receivers class. Like, let the liquor tell it. Like, you got Vance Spafford, the slot speedster from Mission Viejo, California, verified sub 4.4 guy on laser. You have Milan Paris as well. You got Samorian Wingo from St. Augustine, who's your do-it-all kind of a guy. And you got Tyron Evans, who I honestly had forgotten was in this class, if I'm being completely honest with y'all. And he's from Cornelius, North Carolina. So another North Carolinian, like Keyshawn Stansel, also committed. So yeah, this is not bad. You're going to see him. He's on the top of the screen. I hate this film.
Yes.
It is filmed terribly. Now, these ones from the sideline are okay. But I think this is the play with the crossing route. You're going to see it. Yep. So boom. Nice tunnel. He's going to work his way. Oh, no, this is the other one. He just goes up the sideline. Bye. See ya. Peace. Apartments. There's another one. It might be this next play or one after. But again, long speed, quick. Boom. No, it's not this one because it's from the sideline. I know it's from the sideline. It looks like he's running towards you. He's over there on the left playing your X. And we're just going to throw a fade or a back shoulder, actually. Let me get that. Athletic as hell to catch that down by his knee or shin. Again, he's 6'6". Again, playing the X all the way on the outside. Nice little stop whip route. Might be a little push off, but hey, we'll take that. That shows, again, short area quickness, nimble, able to flip his hips, all the things that you want. Again, all the way on the left as your X receiver. Set it and forget it. This is another one where he's going to go vertical. Ooh, bye. See ya. Little switch route. Fake a block for the screen to the apartments. Bye. Then, no, this is another vertical route. I have no idea what the cornerback was doing, stopping his feet, but okay. Underthrown, should have been touchdown. This is not it, but he's at the bottom of the screen here. Again, left side of the formation. The X receiver, set it and forget it. Little RPO. Oh, sluggo. Bye-bye. Ran out of bounds there. Okay, cool. Again, left-hand side of the formation, all the way at the sideline, bottom of the screen. Oh, little swim inside. If you get a good throw, that's going to the departments. See ya. Okay, barely caught there. Boom. Left-hand side of the formation, X receiver, set it and forget it. Again. Inside release. We're out of there. Bye. Bad throw behind him. And the end of it. Okay, cool. But like these are the things that he does. Left-hand side, bottom of the screen. Again. Oh, a little tunnel screen again. Or a little wide receiver screen. Oop, make a guy miss. Oop, skeet. Runs over a dude. Like, I'm seeing things that I like. These are things I want. Again, left-hand side of the formation, X receiver. Like, he's not going to be a guy that you're really going to move around a lot. I mean, now, if you wanted to put him in the slot for a mismatch because he's going to be 6'6" versus a nickel, you could take that. If you want to put him on the other side of the formation, cool. But obviously, at the high school level, best receiver, you're going to play the X. Cool. Inside release, bye. And I mean, like, he gets tackled because he had to wait for the ball, but he's open by 7 yards. You know what I mean? Like, this is a really, really good player. And when you add him to this class with the other 3 receivers, don't know. I mean, yeah, and everything just, this is the kind of player that you want. He fits the physical profile. He exceeds, I mean, he's probably the 99th percentile of height for wide receivers. Again, he's going to be on the left. He's going to go vertical. A little bit thin at 205 at 6'6", but that'll work. And he's open because he ran him off, snapped that route off because he was able to do it with a short area quickness, flip the hips, put the feet in the ground. Boom. This might finally be this tunnel screen or this screen I was talking about where he ends up on the near sideline. I think it is. Nope, it's still the one that goes up there. I don't know where it is in this highlight, but I know I've seen it where he catches it on that side. He ends up working his way across the field here. But no, nice blocking by the team out there. Boom, we're still running. But I think we'll run this last play. But I mean, you get a good idea of the kind of player that he is. Fake block, slip that, and we score a touchdown. But I mean, yeah, 27.5 yards a catch, over 1,000 yards in 8 games with 12 tuds. And he, 6'6", 205. What else do you want? Other than the fact that, like, would I prefer if he was a South Florida, all things being equal, would I prefer if he were a South Florida native? Yeah. The version of that player who lives down here, Calvin Russell from Miami Northwestern, don't want to be here. So he went and got another version of, not saying that they're the same, but in that similar kind of archetype. All things being equal, I would take Calvin Russell. Calvin Russell don't want to be here? Well, then we go and get Milan Paris again after Oregon official visit, Oklahoma official visit, another team that is well known for recruiting and developing and deploying wide receivers. And Auburn, say what you want about their offense, but look at how they've done recruiting wide receivers. All these teams, including Miami, got in the race for Milan Paris before he even did commit. But, in this new second part of his recruitment, and Miami comes out on top. Can't be anything but pleased with that.
Leroy's back for us. Appreciate you, Leroy. I feel like the ACC will try to finesse 3 teams into the ACC.
CFP probably.
College football playoff, yes. Since Miami can get in without making the ACC championship game, what do you think? What are we got shenanigans going on? Is that what he's alleging here?
Yeah, I mean, if it were their choice, of course we like the conference would prefer to have more teams in the college football playoff. I just, in the end, it takes a lot of other things. It will take additional outside losses to make that happen. You know what I mean? Because, like, it will be.
So I served this up. Did we not have this discussion? Because I had it so many times in other locations that the nightmare scenario for the committee, that is the dream scenario for the ACC, is that Virginia runs the table and they win the ACC championship game because they already have 1 loss and Georgia Tech's undefeated after Georgia Tech defeats Georgia. So you've got two 12-1 teams emerging from the ACC championship game, and then you've got Louisville and Miami both running the table at 11-1. You've got four ACC teams, 12-1, 12-1, 11-1, 11-1. Now, do I think Virginia and Georgia Tech are great teams, or even Louisville that can run the table? Not typically, but if you look at their schedules, they're pretty weak, aside from Georgia Tech playing Georgia, of course.
Yeah, and I mean, look, they've gotten the results, like it wasn't a great game against Miami. Like it was great in spots, but they had 24 points at the end of the day. Miami only had 21. That's a win. You know what I mean? So like that was clearly the toughest game on their schedule, and they found a way to win that. Did Louisville and everything. Yeah.
Can you imagine the carnage if those four teams go 12-1, 11-1?
This is fully tortured Miami fan and alum speaking right now. I have a sinking feeling in my stomach that were that to be the case, Miami would be left out. Because you could then say, well, Louisville's a good story, and they beat Miami. Boom. And then the other two made it to the conference championship game. One gets in because they won it, and you're going to take that away from the other one if they were to have lost. I could easily see in that scenario Miami being the one on the outside looking in, and I would rage.
Miami, by most metrics and measurements, would have the best resume. Florida, South Florida, Notre Dame. However, because of the way you just lined it up, I don't know if I had to make that decision what I would do, because again, Virginia's in, they're the champion. Georgia Tech not only arrived at the ACC championship game undefeated, they would have just beaten Georgia.
Right. You can't take that like
huge win.
They're in this scenario. But the good resume be damned. You're up against a team you lost to, buddy.
Yeah.
Because I don't see, even that would be the dream scenario for the ACC, because you would get 3 in that way. I couldn't see them putting 4 in, and I really believe it would be at the expense of an 11-1 Miami Hurricanes team, which I would rage.
Now, what is more likely to happen is that Georgia Tech loses to Georgia, still reaches the ACC championship game, and then they have a decision between 11-2 Georgia Tech, who reach the conference championship game, and 11-1 Miami. And then, of course, we just had a season last year in which they said, you know what, we're not evaluating conference championship games.
Right, but if they won 11 games, that means that they would have won the conference they would have won the ACC championship game, because they would be 10-2, right?
No. They're 11-0. Then they lose.
Wait, they have not lost. You're right. They have not lost this season.
They lose to Georgia, go to the ACC championship game at 11-1, and then lose to Virginia.
I mean, in my mind, I think it's reasonable. You would still have to put them in over Miami. Because they got to where Miami couldn't even get. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. But to Leroy's point, not that the ACC can manipulate it in that way, but they are hoping that things fall in such a way. And then in the Big Ten and SEC, a couple of teams lose here and there. Also, one of the other good wins, I don't know if you said it, USF. I'm very mad that they blew the bag at Memphis. Yeah. Man, because if they would have run the table, which they reasonably should have, and been 11-1 with only losing to us, and they're the power or the group of the mid-major team in the, you're like, hey, the only team that ever, 12 points a game or 12 points in the game against us, like they just hung almost 70 on North Texas, who was one of the other contenders and everything. They had almost 35.5. I don't know what happened. They just started turning the ball over. It was terrible. Because yes, I was rooting for them because it makes our win over them look better. It was terrible in the second half. My God, like Alex Golesh, like you got to be, it has to be nightmare fuel for him. He couldn't have slept since, like, you know what I mean? But like, dude, but you needed that win against Memphis, and then now you probably need Memphis to lose. You need a couple of these other teams in the same way to lose. And again, Miami has to run the table because we've already seen it. The committee has set the precedent. A team from the SEC who loses more games than Miami is going to be placed over Miami. Debate it with whoever you want to. Point of fact, 9-3 SEC greater than 10-2 Miami. That's what they've already said. So the wiggle room is done, and then you need some other machinations. But yeah, getting 3 or 4 in the ACC championship game, or into the college football playoff from the ACC would be great. I only care about one team in particular getting there.
For one of the few times I was not planted on my couch on Saturday afternoon, I was actually driving across the state, and I was listening to the USF home broadcast of that game and listening to the second half in overtime as they, threw that game away.
It was, it was bad. It was real bad, man. Yeah, nightmare fuel for Golish. It has to be, but on to the next one. That's all you could do.
I could talk about the CFP all night, but we do that elsewhere, and we will have plenty of scenarios to deal with upcoming. But let's also consider that Virginia almost just lost to North Carolina, who is basically the worst team in humanity, practically. So Virginia is not a great football team. They're capable of losing to almost anybody.
Their luck needs to run out. It has been some black magic stuff up in Charlottesville, bro. Like, God. Yeah, but anyways, Smitty, getting back on the topic, told you, Cam Dawson saying it is what it is. It is what it was, what it is. Okay. I really want people to go back and watch the presser from Shannon Dawson. So Shannon Dawson said the phrase, it is what it is, relative to the run game last 2 weeks ago. And, well, sorry, not this Monday, but the previous Monday, when asked about it. Because Miami struggled to run the ball against Louisville, and I don't think it was him this week, but one of the journalists there asked about the run game. And I know he said the phrase, it is what it is. And people said, oh my God, it's D'Onofrio, it's Lance Guidry. What he meant was, and he said this afterwards, but of course people latched onto that one phrase. The schemes that we run are the schemes that we run. We're not going to design and install new stuff. But what's in the playbook, what's in our vocabulary of run, are the plays we're going to run. That's what he meant. Then, good buddy Adam Lichtenstein from the Sun Sentinel followed up and asked about the run game again this week. Saying, well, looked up the stats. Miami runs between the tackles, or really between the guards, more than any team in America. And the success of those plays was great early and has dwindled the longer we've gone on, and teams have specifically gone against those plays. I was reading X's and O's piece on a different website, Kane's Insight by Lance Rolfers, Hurricane Vision. And he made the point, basically, it's if you run the same play in the video game, you see it all the time, and it's one of the plays that's a staple. It's split zone with motion. So you move the tight end from side to side, but when he moves laterally, what he's going to do is stop and then block back across into the A gap on the back side of where he is. So if he moves right to left, he's going to go to the left side of center, and then his block on the run play is going to be the right side A gap off the right hip of the center. That's what that play with that motion from the tight end does. Look it up. And teams are crashing to the A gaps now, because if you see that motion, that's what you're running. That's your tell, right? So now if you want to do something different, if you want to go wham, if you want to go a different split zone where you're not coming back across, where you're going the other way, if you want to do play action that are off of that, whatever, but we haven't done that. It's been motion across whichever way, and then an inside block to the A gap on the other side of the center. Go look it up. And that's the issue, because you can see it. And this is kind of a thing that people have really been talking about the inside run, because when you run that same motion and that same scheme over and over, it gives it away. It's like you're playing the video game on freshman. You see that one thing, you go and do that, boom, done. And then Shannon Dawson really went into his coaching bag. And he said, okay, well, we run this scheme and that scheme, and we look at this and we do that, and we run and then he was talking about how zone moves the line. So yes, it's going to be an A gap run or a B gap run, but if you're running outside zone and the whole offensive line takes 2 gather steps to the right, that A gap is not here. That A gap is now outside the hash. So it's an A gap inside run, but it's not just up the middle, which I agree with. However, the previous thing about that motion split zone is also true, right? That inside dive kind of an action. But then he went on and on and on and on and on. And, he did make some snarky comments about like, oh, yeah, Mark Fletcher had a drive where it was 4 carries to him and then a touchdown. All of those were between the tackle. But anyway, how about this one with Jordan Lyle? You remember that touchdown? It wasn't a stretch play. I personally thought it was a stretch play in the press box because of where we were and how it looked. And then I clarified and said, it wasn't a stretch play. It was an inside zone. He made a guy miss in a phone booth and then popped it outside. So, oh, yeah, that was that. It was inside zone. It went just in the A gap between the guard and the tackle, guard and the center. But hey, whatever, kind of going through. So I get what he means in we have a vocabulary of run schemes that we deploy. And it's going to be from that vocabulary of run schemes that we operate because it's who we are. As opposed to teams who run some different stuff because they have QBs integrated to the run game. So that changes things. You can run power read or inverted veer or QB wrap or all these different things if you have a quarterback who can run. We don't got that with number 11, and that's okay. And then the real snarky part was, cool. So basically what you are asking me at the behest of the fan base is you want people to run outside the tackle. How would you get there? And he waited. I'm just like, and then he made Adam answer. He's like, no. How? I'll wait. And I'm like, ooh, boy. Like he was, but you could tell that the question definitely got to him. Then somebody put up a play. It was a toss sweep, buck sweep from the Florida game. And it got outside. We tried that against Stanford. And your friend and mine, Elijah Lofton, as one of the lead blocks on that play, got blown up not even at the point of attack, way in the backfield, right? So before he even get there, because it's supposed to be guard and the tackle, and then maybe you got a Y wrap also, so you're getting out there, you're kicking people out. Elijah Lofton's not built like that as a blocker. So now you don't get push, you get pushed back, and now the running back who's got the ball on a toss is looking right at a defender or the back of Elijah Lofton's jersey when there should be room to go. So there was the attempt. It was at least one. I think it was only once because it didn't work. But yeah, it was interesting to see how you could tell he was a little aggravated. But I honestly urge you, go back and watch the entire response. Dawson was coaching in there. He gave us a lot of scheme in his response. Believe it or don't, like it or don't, but it did show that he does know what he's talking about. However, that being said as well, when we can also just pick clips of the split zone A gap block that's being crashed by the line, even Stanford, both their linebackers. It was a really great picture that Hurricane Vision put up on this piece. Before the snap, you can see one of the linebackers from Stanford is 2 yards towards the ball because it's like, oh, if we hit, I already know what's coming. And then on that play, you have nowhere to go. So it was interesting. There needs to be more efficiency in the run game, and we shall see on how that works.
Yeah, so I got to think that most people that responded to that on social media responded to it from the standpoint of maybe not even listening to the comment at all, or just listening, as you just mentioned, to the snippet of the comment. And when you hear it is what it is, that's become in our vernacular, basically, it's not getting any better. That's what it is. When right. He didn't mean that. He meant our concepts aren't going to change mid-season. We will just need to get better at doing them. Not, it is what it is. It's not getting better. That's what it is.
Right. Which is what Cristobal said as an offensive line coach. We need to execute more. Like it's been blocked up. people have missed holes. This is what I talked about in the Louisville game, that you had blocked up a touchdown on duo and Jordan Lyle missed the hole. That's not on the play call. That's not on the blocking because it was there. The running back made a wrong read. So again, that's 10 of 11 doing their thing. 90.9% accuracy, but the one guy with the ball missed the hole. You know what I mean? So like, that's what he meant of, we're not changing who we are whole stock. That's what he meant by it is what it is, not we're just going to run it into the middle. And like, I'm going to challenge myself really to look this week and try to see, how many inside versus outside zone. Hurricane Pete Dawson said, put some respect on the running game. He did. And I'm going to really try to look at that and see, okay, like what kinds of run schemes are we running on each and every play? It's, luckily it's an away game, so I'll be here at the house. So I will record it and I'm going to go back through one by one and do that. And then, I know a lot of football. I don't know the most, but I'm also going to tag in a couple of my coach friends and be like, hey, do the same. Tell me if I'm wrong, but regardless of what's called, it needs to work. And that's where you need to perform better as well. Because again, one guy misses a hole, run doesn't work. One guy misses a block, run doesn't work. James Brockermeyer, hello, fourth and 1 and getting pushed 3 yards into the backfield. That's not respectfully. Maybe you could say if you knew your personnel, maybe you do something different. But like you're getting pushed on skates by a backup rotational defensive tackle from Stanford, buddy. Rough.
So in totality, with 7 points at halftime and then an explosion in the second half, Mark Fletcher obviously had a big game. Carson Beck was a pretty non-dynamic but efficient 21 of 28 with no turnovers. Did they make adjustments, meaning Miami, or did the players just kick in the better talent? Or I'm guessing a combination of the two.
A bit of both. You stopped having the penalties. If you look, and this is why I always leave the stats up so I can talk about them accurately. First drive of the game, you're deep in scoring territory, and then you get on 2nd and 6 from the Stanford 19-yard line. You get a false start. Drive killer. And I know as well, hey, you should be able to overcome that. Absolute drive killer, bro. And then, you change what you're doing. Actually, let me go back after that. So you go for, so a 2nd and 16. And then you throw a screen to Daniels for a loss of 1. And then you throw a check down to Fletcher for no gain. And I know you were looking elsewhere on those plays, but like that killed the drive, killed it dead. And then you miss a field goal. Then you also had, 5 and out for a punt. Then 4th and 2 from the Stanford 30-yard line. Your number 1 receiver, CJ Daniels, absolutely undressed his defender, turned him around on a slant, ball hits him between both hands, and he drops it. I don't know what else you want from anybody. The throw was perfect. The call worked. I'm going to have to call that person. Pause.
All right. Appreciate y'all being here at the Voice of College Football. Cam and I get together every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And we pack this thing with so much content. When I go to a promo when we need to, it seems to be this massive break. But keep this in mind. There was a study done on sports media that ESPN circa, let's say 1985, 1990, filled a typical sports center with like 3 to 5% of promos of other content during the week, Major League Baseball games, all the other things that they had going, or future highlights or something coming up later in the show. And by 5 years ago, it was something like 35 or 40% of the show is basically telling you what's coming up in the show or what's going to be on ESPN the rate. So we give you a pretty action-packed hour here of content.
Hey, we do what we can. Sorry about that. As I was saying, CJ Daniels with a bad drop on fourth down. That killed a drive. You get 2 touchdowns in a row. Then in the third quarter, as I said, 4th and 1 from the Stanford 21-yard line, and Tommy Brockermeyer gets put on skates, and right into where the run was going. And we'd converted on the same play, the same kind of play with Shamar Brown previously. But I mean, he just, it was bad. So there was that. Honestly, Stanford hit their first drive was a bunch of nickel and dime, and Miami got out of position on a run fit once, and they hit for 28 yards, which got them down the field, and then they end up working their way down. Zach Poyser basically got spun around like a top on the touchdown throw. And even afterwards, he was like, I took a wrong drop. I took a wrong step. By the time I took that step, the wide receiver was going the other way. My bad. Boom. They had 74 yards on the first offensive drive. They had 70 total yards over the next 10 drives of the game. Super clamps, absolute lockdown. It was the blowout it should have been in terms of 42-7, and it should have been worse. You don't have a stupid penalty by Alex Bowman for the false start on the first drive. You probably score a touchdown. You don't have the drop to start the second quarter, that drive that right there that says downs. You're inside the 25 going down, probably score. You don't get put on skates on the first drive of the second half. Keep going. Or second drive. Keep going. Right there, the one that says downs, 4 plays, 9 yards. Again, after a nice play, and that gives you the ball, you're on the 21-yard line. And I get why they didn't settle for field goals, because you don't win games with field goals. And look, we should be scoring touchdowns. It was really, just the offense started doing what they needed to do. And the defense made basically 2 bad plays, which was the 28-yard run and then the touchdown pass. And then, okay, but after that, it was clamps. So, yeah, it just took a little bit to get our sea legs about us and doing the thing that we needed to do just to make things happen.
Falconer taking over here. Well, first it's Hurricane Pete.
Yes,
we saw that one about the running game. Now it's Falconer taking over. Going back to our ACC playoff scenario, I believe 1,000% Miami will be left out.
In that scenario that we had previously drafted. Yes, I see that as also.
Miami in playoff brings TV ratings no other can.
I mean, Miami's like what number? No, as opposed to the other teams from the ACC.
Oh,
Miami
well, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, the highest rated team in the ACC this year. I think we're like number 7 or 8 nationally in terms of total Nielsen rating across the season. Yeah, I mean, big brand. Duh.
I will say this in reviewing TV ratings that I do each offseason, going through conferences, that for going 2-10, Florida State was still 3rd or 4th in the ACC in television ratings last year.
Yeah, they were.
And they've got this Wake Forest team coming up this week that just beat SMU. So suddenly we believe that, Wake Forest is probably better than Florida State.
Well, Wake Forest has been close a couple of weeks and then not found ways to close. And they, their quarterback was saying it, their coach was saying, like, we're right there. We need those couple plays to finally put a win up here that I think that we've earned, but we've been close and not able to close out, which is why we've always said winning is hard, which is why every good, bad, and ugly if we win starts with a win, because winning is hard. And they finally were able to put a couple plays together.
Yeah, they're not bad.
They're not.
Falconer, don't like the 11 a.m. local kickoff, Central Time, noon kickoff, Miami at SMU.
It is what it is. It's SMU homecoming also. Shout out to my good friend Robin, whose whole family are SMU legacies, including herself. She met her husband, my good friend, in law school at Miami. So she's it's the Robin Bowl because, like, yeah, she has degrees from both. But it is what it is, man. Mario said that he wanted more noon games. I know he was saying, well, early in like August, September to take advantage of the South Florida sun, but beggars can't be choosers. You said you wanted a nooner. You get a nooner on ESPN. So yeah, and I actually just posted a piece on stateofview.com where you should be coming over to fan with us anyway, about all of the connections between Miami and SMU, including the head coach, the co-offensive coordinator, the quarterback's coach, the offensive line coach, the running backs coach, the what is he? The assistant offensive line coach. So the offensive line coach and the assistant offensive line coach, who, by the way, is Ruben Bain's brother. You know, like Romello Brinson, Tyler Van Dyke, more, like it's more than a little bit. And yeah, so put that up there. So it's homecoming for them. It's homecoming for us. Whatever, go win.
And most of the on-field personnel has moved on, either to the NFL or some other professional industry.
There are still plenty of there's there's lots who were there who did move on. But there's plenty who are still there. Romello Brinson, who famously took audio from this here show in his commitment to Miami. Remember that years ago? Yes. He is their leading receiver. Chris Johnson Jr., everybody's favorite player in college football 25, the video game, because he's 97 speed. He's the backup running back there with, a couple hundred yards rushing and 150 yards receiving. You got Zion Nelson playing not rotational, but garbage time snaps after he was Miami's staff medically retired him, but he said he wanted to keep playing. So he's played 70 snaps this season. Tyler Van Dyke continuing to rehab there and work under Lashley under the hopes of transferring somewhere else to try to be a starter again in 26 because Kevin Jennings has another year of eligibility. And there's a couple of more South Florida natives there. So there was a large contingent who have gone on, but there are still plenty of SMU Hurricanes who made their way from Coral Gables to North Dallas.
And as we mentioned last week, after 11 consecutive regular season wins, SMU finally loses a game in the ACC on a walk-off field goal. And few would have guessed it would have been Wake Forest that would have tagged them with their first loss, but they, in fact, did in a 13-12 thriller. Slug Bruce letting us know that the run hurting because the center is weak.
Especially when you're trying to go man-to-man blocking up front. When you go zone, you can kind of flow, but when it's, hey, put your hands on a guy and move furniture, which the other five guys, if you include the rotational tackle, can pretty much do. Brockermeyer, one of these things is not like the other.
Falconer taking us back with this one. Anyone love listening to games on the radio? As I had mentioned, that was my Saturday afternoon. I've kind of lost touch with doing that. That was part of my childhood, but now I never listen to anything on the radio, let alone a football game. But so that was kind of interesting.
Or even, your radio app of choice or whatever. I grew up. Shout out to George Blaha, the voice of the Detroit Pistons and Michigan State football for 50 years as of last week. I got to meet Mr. Blaha when Michigan State came down here a couple of years ago. I was just outside and I saw him walking with his assistant, his big 6'6" security guard dude. And I was just like, I'm so sorry, like Detroit native. I've grown, count that baby in a foul. Just like the voice of, it's just, yeah, man, just come on. Like Ernie Harwell for the Tigers for the longest time. I have these memories of like these voices on radio for all these different sports. Which, they're still out there and everything, but it is different. But I did enjoy doing it. I'm such a nerd. I used to sit at home and listen to Ernie Harwell's. If I couldn't make or watch Tiger games back in the day, I would listen to Ernie Harwell over watching whatever local broadcast with my scorebook and I would try to live update batting averages in August and September, because the average usually is between 2 and 4 batting points up or down by that point of the year. So I would go through it. I would sit literally at my desk in my house in Detroit. I can see it right now. Desk right here, back window there. And I'd be doing it, and I'd be trying to update the batting averages live. But yeah, it's great stuff. Good nostalgia. I don't know that I'll join you guys doing that, but it's great things that, we all should do sometime.
Well, we do have some similar nerd tendencies, Cam, because when I was a kid, what I would do is I would get the Sunday morning paper. And because the batting statistics only went through Friday's games, did not include Saturdays, because they list all the Major League Batting Average statistics, that I would take the box scores and I would add that to the, so like Greg Nettles hit in 237. Oh, but he went 2 for 4. Let's add that into the calculator. Oh, he's up to 241 now. And I have to write it in a notebook.
Yeah. Very, very similar kind of things. Yeah.
It was only good, of course, for about another 2 hours because they were playing Sunday afternoon.
Whatever. Crazy. All right. Old Kane says, Cam, don't forget we signed the top cornerback in Louisiana last year in Jabari Antoine. True. Did. Straight up. So there was that, which was to the earlier conversation about not getting Lamar Brown because, he's from down there and not likely to eschew his commitment. Hassan Kayab. Cam, did you hear Virginia Tech is going to hire Franklin? They're finalizing the deal as we speak. I saw that someone posted something along those lines on social media. I do not know what their sourcing was, and it did not look like a verified or a known person. So I did not pay that any mind other than just somebody created a graphic and put it on social media. So take that as you will. Did I see the thing? Yes. Do I believe the thing? Not until someone more connected says so.
It was kind of my thought that because of the buyout being as lucrative as it is, that he would be waiting for his level job. Not that it's easy to replace a Penn State level job, but I just didn't necessarily see him stooping to that. Not that Virginia Tech's, it's certainly not the job that it used to be, but maybe somebody like him would bring it back.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, he is required by the terms of his contract to seek employment, whether that's on television or in coaching, because there's the offset. But yeah, I don't know who that person was who said that. So I don't trust or believe that. Anyways, it is 8:00. I know that we are not going to go long because Florida State show is coming up. So I'm going to please invite every one of you. First of all, hit the like and subscribe. But also, like and subscribe to stateoftheu.com. It is a wonderful website that is free for all, one of your leaders in commentary and analysis for the Miami Hurricanes. We take great pride in what we do and how we do it over there. It's a great site. We're open all the time. Myself and the contributors, we do a great job, discussing this team and evaluating this team and more. So please come on and with us at stateoftheu.com. On Twitter, I'm at Underwood Sports or the State of the U for the website's Twitter, which you can find if you find my personal Twitter. And other than that, Miami needs to go to Dallas and win. I'm picking Miami to win because I was picking them to win every game this year. Just because that's what I believe we have the ability to go do. So we will see if that comes to fruition, and we will talk about it either way this same time next week.